All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? Memorial Day weekend ahead of us, but first, we got Friday night fireworks here. It's the MLB Witching Hour show brought to you by SHIPITNation.com, brought to you by our partners over at 4D. Tommy G and his crew over there continue to smash the bets, continue to beat Vegas lines, totals, props over there. If you want access to that, SHIPITNation.com/4D gets you 20% off when you use that promo code SHIPIT to their website over there. Check out their bets, get in, tail their bets, and start making money today. If you are a current SHIPIT Nation subscriber and you have not used your free week trial to them, head over there, use that free week trial, get you 7-day access to all their betting advice over there at 4D, courtesy of SHIPIT Nation for 1 week only, one-time use only on that free trial there. If not, just go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate y'all tuning in on this holiday weekend here. Nice little 4-day weekend ahead of us. Everybody, for the most part, is going to be off on Memorial Day. You'll catch myself and Hamwich back here on Monday to break down that show. But Hamwich, I'll bring you in right away, man. Happy Friday. What's going on, brother? Any big weekend plans? And more importantly, what's the slate looking like to you off the top?
Yeah, happy Friday, man. You got a 4-day weekend. Hey, it's a little different than me. I'm only got a 3-day weekend. You said you didn't work today, so that's nice. I can't go anywhere but up from here. Man, I told all the folks, hey, it was the power of 3 on Monday, Nades. The number 3 hitters were going yard. And what I meant was Cal Raleigh was going to strike out 3 times in that game, not go yard. Man, it was brutal. But I got some more home run calls of the day. Looking forward to this slate. I like this slate. Chalk is surprisingly not going to the Phillies. I mean, they're going to be popular, but not the number 1 or number 2 stack from what you're seeing. But looking forward to it. We got the Dodgers, Friday night Doyers, as you like to say, and probably the best matchup, best spot with a 10.5 total. So let's break it all down for the people.
Yeah, let's break it down for the people. And if you guys are not a member yet, no promo codes yet right now, but we still are the cheapest all-in rate in the industry. MLB-only packages right now are just about a little over $1 a day when you do the MLB only monthly package. That'll take you throughout the summer. Leading up to NFL, you can always upgrade with the pro rate there. If you have questions in terms of upgrading once NFL rolls around, you want to go from MLB only to all access pass, we can definitely help you out with that. Still much cheaper than many of the other industry rates, right? $70, $79, $80 a month for one sport, $450 for a season. We're just a little over $1 a day. That'll take you through the whole summer. If you want all access, we still have all access there. It'll catch you through the PGA and the MLB leading up to NFL, which is shortly around the corner. The remainder of the MLB play or the NBA playoffs as well, and projections as well. Head over there, SHIPITNation.com. Join now. Let's say hi to a couple people in the chat. We got our guy Gator Nation in here. First like smash. Appreciate you smashing the like as always. If everybody else would smash that like, we bring these shows to you almost every day a week between live shows and quick hits for free of charge for you over here on the YouTube station. Warren Tyler in here, Charlie, Pogden, Adam. What's going on, y'all? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's jump right in. Let's go like we always do. We're going to talk pitching. We're going to go 8K and above, and then we're going to go 8K and below. We'll break it down game by game. In terms of weather, I do want to bring it up. Baltimore, Chicago, White Sox is pretty risky in terms of weather. And then the other game with weather concerns is the Chicago and St. Louis. The reason I bring that up off the top is because when we jump into pitcher here, Imanaga and Corbin Burns, the two best pitchers on the slate in terms of matchups, in terms of everything. But you do have a lot of weather concerns there. So I'm personally throwing those two guys out at 10-6 and 11K. But I did want to bring up that weather concern. I know people are probably going to be talking about that in the chat because those two guys would be the best SP plays on the slate. I can't do it personally with the weather there. So, Hamwich, I'm going to throw it over to you. Let's break down this top tier, 8K and above. I want to throw out a couple names. Number one, Justin Verlander gets the matchup in Oakland, pitcher's ballpark there. 2024 and old man Verlander is going to be one of the chalkiest pitchers on the slate. Talk to me in terms of him. And then de facto Zach Gallen, SP1 de facto now due to Imanaga and Corbin Burns having the weather concerns there. Talk on him. I think he's going to get a decent amount of ownership, especially now that Imanaga and Burns are likely to lose a lot of ownership due to the weather concerns. Naturally, people are just going to slide to Gallen there in a good matchup against this Miami team in a pitcher's ballpark there at home. Talk on those two in particular, and then anyone else you have interest in up here. Any interest for Yu Darvish, who's looked very good in his last 4 starts, but gets a pretty tough matchup here against the Yankees. Break this down.
Yeah, so you said it best. Imanaga and Burns, best 2 plays on the slate if they play. I prefer Imanaga over Burns, assuming there would be no weather. But we'll move on to the next one just because we think that one, both of those are going to be called off tonight. So for me, my SP1 on this slate is going to be in this range. Yeah, Zach Gallen, you said it a minute ago, going up against the Marlins at home. He's been absolutely dynamite at home. 10-3 on DraftKings. So I think he's in a great spot tonight. Great matchup. Should get the win. Should get the quality start, which is important on FanDuel. So he would be my SP1 in this range. My second favorite pitcher, I'm going to go a little different than you. Maybe a little pivot off you. Cutter Crawford going up against the Brewers, your folks. I really like Cutter Crawford. I'm digging into him a little bit today. He's missing a ton of right-handed bats. Not striking many of them out, about 21%. But missing about 15% of the bats. I think his strikeout rate goes up. I like Cutter Crawford up in this range. It's a great pivot off of Verlander, $300 more than the last one that I would have interest in this range. A little bit different than you as well. Not you, but Yu Darvish is Bailey Ober going up against this Rangers team. This Rangers team is just obviously not the same team that they've been in years past. I don't mind taking a few dart throws. It's going to be electric in Minnesota tonight. All that energy is going to be coming out of that basketball arena, bleeding over to Target Field. Give me some Bailey Ober love in this 8K plus range. But those would be the 3 where I would focus on, assuming that Imanaga and Burns have a bad outlook on the weather.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown there. I'm with you there. Imanaga and Burns, I love both of them if they do play. I think Imanaga is more safe to play than Burns. I think that Baltimore and Chicago game does get postponed. We should know that there. So Imanaga, if he plays, I think is good, but I just rather side right with Zach Gallen. Ranks very well in our pitcher rankings over here at SHIPITNation.com. Has a pitcher's ballpark, has this matchup against Miami that I've not been scared of. I've targeted all season long. Zach Gallen's looked pretty good here. So Zach Gallen's my SP1. Not really worried about ownership too much because I'm seeing him coming as about 3rd or 4th highest owned pitcher on the slate just due to the salary at 10-3 when you got guys like Justin Verlander down at 8-6 against these A's in Oakland. I do have some interest in Verlander. I'm going to monitor ownership because if he gets up to right now, he's projected to be about 25 to 30% owned. If he approaches higher than that and potentially becomes the clear-cut chalk is what I'm seeing right now, I'll be a little worrisome on that. I just don't think Verlander's the pitcher he has been in the past. He has looked pretty decent as of late. Should have some run support behind him. But again, these Athletics, man, have been pretty pesky. Looking at the numbers at home this season, though, they are striking out 28% against right-handed pitching. So that is a plus to Verlander there. And his pretty much league average, a little bit below league average strikeout numbers that he's shown so far this season. So I have some interest, but I am worrisome on him. I love the Cutter Crawford pivot there. It is a scary matchup. These Brewers, right, have been hitting the baseball well, playing good baseball, and actually been limiting strikeouts, opposing pitcher strikeouts as well. At 8-9, it is scary. He is in Fenway. But Cutter Crawford at home, I think there should be some run support. At least the industry likes to think so, with the Red Sox drawing a ton of ownership from the bats perspective. Cutter Crawford, I think, is a decent pivot off of Justin Verlander. But I actually have a decent amount of interest in Yu Darvish down at 8K. He's looked very good in his last 4 starts, 24 strikeouts amongst those 4 starts, including a start against the Braves, including a start against the Dodgers. 2 very good offenses here. Now faces the Yankees here, who arguably have more strikeouts in their lineup than both of the Braves and the Dodgers bats. In a pitcher's ballpark out there in San Diego, last game of the slate at 8K. 24 strikeouts over the last 4 and just 3 walks. I think he's an interesting play at just 8K. I've personally no interest in Bailey Ober against Texas. About 15-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to center field there in Minnesota, one of the best hitting conditions on the slate. It is only in the 60s there, but just no reason for me on an 11-game slate with a pitcher like Bailey Ober, who's up and downs, got hit around by weaker offenses, to attack a team that strikes out at sub 20% against right-handed pitching on the road this season in Texas. So that's one difference. If I'm going down there, I'd just rather go to Yu Darvish. So for me in this range, it's Zach Gallen number one, Yu Darvish number two, and then Cutter Crawford is kind of the de facto number three for me in this range. Really no interest in Kyle Harrison, Ober, Paxton. I actually have interest in some of the Mets bats, some of the Reds bats against Paxton and Harrison there. So for me, it's pretty slim up at the top. But once we get in this next range, I think we got to talk about it quite a bit because there is a lot of good pitchers in this range. 8K and below, I'm going to throw it over to you right away. I want to throw out a couple names. Number one, Christian Scott, all the way up at the top, coming off a terrible start last game. He started the season, right? 3 starts in so far. We got limited sample on this guy. 2 good starts. Last start against the Miami Marlins. Got beat up a little bit. Lost 8-0 in that game. I think he scored right around almost negative fantasy points. Talk to me on him. He is going to get a ton of ownership on this slate, looking as the second highest owned pitcher behind Verlander. So touch on Christian Scott. Touch on Patrick Sandoval, who's also right there. Gets his matchup at home in LA against Cleveland, who, hey, historically, years past, right? Cleveland's been a lower strikeout order. But over the course of this season, their top guys, right? The top 4 or 5 hitters are pretty low strikeouts. And then in the back half, there's a ton of strikeouts typically in the back half of that lineup. So talk on Patrick Sandoval. And then one other guy I want to mention to you is Christopher Sanchez, pitching pretty good this season. Gets this matchup in Coors Field against the Rockies here. So hit on those 3 guys and then any other pivots or lower guys that you have interest in down here.
Yeah, real quick. Someone was asking about Rodon. No Rodon for me. Just not doing it for me this year. And I think this Padres team, they just don't strike out. Manny Machado strikes out pretty good against lefties at home. But, yeah, nobody else, especially Arise, has been hot. So no Rodon for me.
Rodon real quick. I looked at Rodon, but then I saw his price at 9,200. And, I mean, I just much rather go down to Yu Darvish in that same game, same ballpark for $1,200 cheaper personally, because there is a little bit more strikeouts in that Yankees lineup over that Padres lineup overall. So that's kind of the reason I'm out on Rodon. I did almost write him up in the slate plan. Chose to write up Darvish instead just due to the salary in the same game. So I didn't want to hit on that as well. Yeah,
no, good call on that. Yeah, looking at this sub 8K, I mean, you nailed it. When you look at Christian Scott, look at the matchup. Yeah, he's going to be popular and rightfully so. 7,900, great price tag on him. I really like him. He's my favorite, guy down in this range. Absolutely. My next favorite guy in this range is going to be Christopher Sanchez going up against this Rockies team, 7,200. The thin air in Colorado doesn't scare me. Christopher Sanchez been a pretty good pitcher this year, and looking at his numbers versus the Rockies, I think he should dominate this game. Not going to strike out a whole ton of people, but I think he can limit the damage. Go 7 innings. Get 5+ Ks. I think he's in for a good night tonight, especially at 7,200. Definitely don't mind that play. And then really not in love with anybody else down here. I think I like Miles Michaelis a little bit. If I'm playing on DraftKings, 6K, I think that's okay. And then one name I'm going to throw out, it's going to be gross. It's going to be my gross name of the night. Your boy Graham Ashcraft taking on these mighty Dodgers. This would be an ultimate, 150 type play. You might get 2 or 3 pieces of him, but he's missing a ton of right-handed bats. Dodgers trotting out 4 or 5 righties tonight. Hey, you never know. It's baseball. It's a 1-game slate. I definitely wouldn't play him on anything 20 or less, but Graham Ashcraft kind of sneaky tonight, in my opinion, with all those right-handed bats he's missing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty scary play, but hey, anytime you're going to leverage the highest owned offense on the slate, I think you can do it. Personally, it's not for me, but hey, Hamwich has made worse calls than Graham Ashcraft on the slate, so we'll see if he continues his streak here on this Friday night show for SHIPIT Nation over here. I'm going to start at the top. Christian Scott, I don't care about the ownership. I do like his matchup a ton. I picked on these Giants all season. It is decent hitting weather there in New York, but Christian Scott, I think he bounces back. I mean, he's seen a massive strikeout rate in his first 2 starts, then it dipped a little bit in that last start against Miami. I'll give it to him, right? He's still a young guy, right? 3 starts in this season. Everybody's due for a fluke there. So I'm kind of throwing out that Miami start. Gets a solid matchup here against the Giants. I like him quite a bit, especially at his price point. And I think you can get away with 2 of these pitchers below 8K because when we look at that top tier, right, we didn't really have a ton of interest. So kind of looking at me for pitching on this slate, I'm going to be more condensed on the pitchers on this slate and then kind of spread out offenses a little bit, just because that's just the nature of the slate with the weather concerns we have up at the top. I think if Burns and Imanaga were safe, it'd be a different story here. I think I'd be grabbing one of those guys and one of these cheaper guys, but I'm throwing those two guys out. So I have no hesitation to play two of these guys below 8K here. Starting with Christian Scott, love him a ton. And then Patrick Sandoval, I actually like him quite a bit. Just due to the price, he's pitched pretty good. I actually like these Angels a little bit in terms of offense. I wrote it up in the slate plan over here at the Nation. I think they're pretty sneaky, so he should have some run support behind him. And like I talked about, the back half of this Cleveland lineup, this isn't very scary. I mean, if he gets through the top, right, he can. I think he can navigate, right? But even Rochio on the road this season, striking out 40%. Their leadoff hitter projected, Tyler Freeman, striking out over 26%. And the back half in limited sample, I mean, Hedges, huge strikeout rate, right? This Mazzardo guy, huge strikeout rate. And then Jonathan Rodriguez, there, not a ton of numbers on him either. So I do think the back half of this lineup, he can get some strikeouts. And at his $7,700 price point in a decent ballpark there, I like Patrick Sandoval. And then I'm with you. Christopher Sanchez, massive ground ball rate pitcher, which definitely helps when you're playing in a field like Coors Field, right, with the thin air. It is a little worrisome. His numbers over the last 30 days, just a 15% strikeout rate to righties, and this lineup should have 8 righties in it. I'm seeing right now from the projected, which is pretty scary. But again, going back to the whole thing that I like to say, these guys have to make contact with the baseball to hurt you here, and this Rockies team has just not been good. So Christopher Sanchez should have run support, plenty of run support behind him too at 7,200. I actually like him quite a bit just due to a ground ball rate pitcher, right? And I typically ground ball rate, high ground ball pitchers don't hurt you too often, right? Because even if they do struggle a little bit, you know ground balls coming here or there, double play, out of the inning kind of thing. So I do have interest in him, and then really no other interest below that range. No Graham Ashcraft for me, no Bryce Wilson, none of these guys down here below that. I mean, the only guy maybe would be a Braxton Garrett just out there in Arizona. I'm a believer in Braxton Garrett. He's 5,800. So if I was punting, I think Braxton Garrett would be my favorite guy to go. I would just rather save the $900 or $800, whatever it is, off of Ashcraft and go down to Braxton Garrett. But realistically, I'm sticking in the top of this range, and I like playing two of these guys, Scott, Sandoval, and Sanchez is kind of how I'm breaking this down. Go ahead and rank your top 5 pitchers before we go game by game, Hamwich.
My God, Metro Boom is going to be the winner's circle. He's got Ashcraft. He's going to come back over the top with Sanchez. Metro Boom's going to be in that leaderboard tonight. But yeah, ranking them. I'm going to go Gallon 1, assuming the top 2 guys are out. Give me Gallon 1. I'm going to go Christian Scott 2. I'm going to go Cutter Crawford 3, Bailey Ober 4.
All right.
It's Sanchez. I want to throw Sanchez in there as well. I do like Sanchez tonight as well.
Yo, good rankings. I'm going Zach Gallen number 1 for me. I'm going Sanchez number 2, Sandoval 3, Scott 4, and then my 5th would be Yu Darvish in tournaments there. I like Yu Darvish quite a bit at 8K. I just don't think he gets a ton of ownership. He's looked very good in his last 4 starts for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Going to throw it over to you, and we're going to talk about the Friday night Doyers here. They're not at home tonight, and they're in one of the best hitting ballparks in the league. Guaranteed 9th inning at bats, facing Graham Ashcraft and his sub 17% strikeout rate on the season. Talk to me here. The Dodgers, Cincinnati Reds. I think this is a good game for offense on both sides. I have interest here, especially with the ballpark in mind. Looking at the weather here, let me just pull it up real quick. I'm seeing about 80 degrees, some slight wind blowing in but at about 4 miles an hour. So realistically, no wind. Temperatures in the 80s here in one of the best hitting parks on the slate. I think there's fireworks here to kick off this slate. Talk to me, Dodgers and the Reds.
I agree with you. Vegas agrees with you. Got a 10.5 total in this game, and Mookie jumps off the page. You know, if you're not playing Ashcraft, which, you know, you're probably not going to, be wise not to, but Mookie really jumps off the page. Pages looks good. Teoscar Hernandez, Freddie Freeman, those would be my top 4 Dodgers. Then Ohtani would round it out if you're doing a 5-man stack. It's going to be tough to 5-man stack this team like it always is just because they're so high priced. You're going to be playing some of those pitchers down there in the bottom. But, yeah, definitely Mookie. And then on the other side, goodness gracious, I about jumped through the ceiling when I saw this lineup, this confirmed lineup. I got Stuart Fairchild in batting leadoff tonight. Hey, he's a very good play tonight. Really like Fairchild. He's going to be popular, rightfully so. He's really jumping off the page, like Ty Stevenson, Ellie De La Cruz, and Candelario batting third. I think it goes Fairchild, Ellie, Candy, and Stevenson, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, this game should have a lot of fireworks. Really like the red side. You said it in your slate plan. James Paxton striking out 13% of batters this season. It's fireworks. Stevenson's actually fifth. But, yeah, lock and load both of these teams tonight. There is going to be fireworks in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's fireworks in Cincinnati here. The Dodgers are right now projected to be the highest owned offense on the slate, rightfully so. That's why I give a little bit boost to the Phillies over them as my top overall stack on the slate. But Dodgers are close number 2. Love 1 through 9 for me against Graham Ashcraft. I'm going to start with the fly ball guys. And over the last 30 days, just due to Graham Ashcraft, he is a decent, moderately, he's about a 50% ground ball rate pitcher to both sides of the plate. When you look at this, especially over the last month, this Dodgers team, I mean, everybody in their lineup besides one guy, Gavin Lux, has a 28% or higher fly ball rate, which definitely counters Graham Ashcraft's ground ball ability a little bit there. So give me all 8 hitters. I mean, Gavin Lux, I think, is fine in stacks, but I love the other 8 hitters a ton. Freeman, Hernandez, if he's in there, Mookie Betts, I love him. Will Smith, Ohtani, Teo Hernandez, those are my 5 favorite guys. And then the Pages is the Jason Haywards, the Kikis of the world, I think are solid. Again, Gavin Lux, my least favorite bat in that game for that team, but 1 through 9 firmly in play for me on the Dodgers side. Just not really scared of Graham Ashcraft at all. And then looking on the other side, I mean, James Paxton, 13.5% strikeout rate over the last month here. A ton of fly balls and a ton of hard hits, especially from the lefties. So give me these lefties to start from these Reds. That would be just looking at this confirmed lineup here. Ellie De La Cruz, right? Candelario, obviously switch hitter there. You got Nick Martini, who hit a bomb last night, I believe. He's $3K, my boy. He's won me a ton of money here. Low strikeout guy, going to put the ball in play against the guy that just struggles. I mean, so I'm not really worried lefty here. In this matchup. Give me the power righties for sure. Obviously, first, Fairchild, good call out there. Nice value bet, 2,900 at the top. But I like stacking this game up. All 9 batters are in play for me in the Reds. All 9 batters are in play for me in the Dodgers. Really can't see any way around going to offense in this game. It's not going to be a sneaky spot, but again, you can get different elsewhere. So long way of breaking that game down, but I do think it's one of the most important games on the slate. Followed by another pretty important game in terms of offense. Probably the second highest owned offense on the slate is these Boston Red Sox here against Bryce Wilson, who's just absolutely been horrendous to lefties. And looking at this confirmed Red Sox lineup, they saw the same thing I saw. Duran's in there, Abreu's in there, Devers is in there, Dom Smith is in there, and David Hamilton in there. You got 5 lefties to attack the splits of Bryce Wilson. His numbers have looked abysmal. 2 lefties. Talk on these Red Sox, and then any Brewers interest against Cutter Crawford. Personally, not for me, but talk to me.
Yeah, no, these Red Sox going to be popular, and rightfully so. Devers, number 1 for me. Wilmer, number 2 for me. Those are the 2 best left-hand hitters, in my opinion. Duran, solid leading off as well. Also like Wong. Wong's batting, I think, 3rd. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think they'll be popular, but rightfully so. Bryce Wilson's not any good. Give me some Devers. And then on the other side, Jake Bauers. If Jake Bauers is in the lineup, I like him. And then outside of that, there are really no other bats. He's scheduled to bat 5th. But, yeah, no other bats. I really like Cutter Crawford tonight from the Red Sox side. But, yeah, load up on these Red Sox. I think they're going to pop off as well.
Yeah, Red Sox are going to get a decent amount of ownership, but looking at the numbers, especially over the last 30 days on Wilson, I mean, an 18% walk rate to lefties, an 18% strikeout rate, and a 78% hard hit rate with a ton of fly balls. Rafael Devers is probably the best player on the entire slate. I really like him a ton. Abreu, Duran. That's a 1-2-4 stack there. Throwing a Dom Smith as a value guy at first base. I love him. And then David Hamilton fills the shortstop position who, hey, he'll steal some bases. He has a little power, right? Has a couple home runs on the season, if I'm not mistaken there. You can play him at second base and shortstop, and he's just 2,800 there. So nice little wrap around here. You go 8-1 2, 3, 5, something like that, I think is definitely an interesting route to go. Should get a little bit lower owned than just going 1 through 5 on these Red Sox. Definitely don't recommend that. Anytime you throw in a guy like a David Hamilton, a Vaughn Grissom down at the bottom, Rafaela down there, anytime you throw in a 7, 8, 9er hitter, just overall it decreases your stack ownership. So that's one way that I like to do. Like the Red Sox, starting with the lefties for sure. And then on the Brewers side, really no interest in any of these Brewers, to be honest, against Cutter Crawford. If I were to pick anyone, just looking at Cutter Crawford's metrics over the last 30 days, it would be the lefties. He's got a sub 18% strikeout rate to the lefties, very, very low ground ball rate, and some fly balls there. So Turang, Yelich, Jake Bowers, or Sal Frelick would kind of be my preferred guys, just as a one-off, but I don't think it's a spot that I'm going to for too much offense here. Next game, I do have a decent amount of interest in some offense here. It's Texas and it's Minnesota. Game in Minnesota again, about 15-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. Temperatures in the 60s, right? Upper 60s, about 67, 65 degrees. And I'm actually seeing 17 to 18-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to kind of left center field. So pretty good hitting conditions here, despite the nature of the slate. Talk to me in this one, the Rangers and the Twins, Bailey Ober, Urena on the mound, who, hey, Jose Urena, we're back, man. This guy, we used to blindly stack any team. I mean, you could have stacked the T-ball squad against this guy's in year past. He has patched it together a little bit there, but I think he's just kind of got a magic 8-ball right now, and I think that comes to a halting stop here tonight. I like these Twins quite a bit. Talk to me here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lower in this game than you. It sounds like it would be Marcus Semien as a one-off for me. A ton of interest in Bailey Ober against this Rangers team. So if you wanted to stack the Rangers, it would be a one-off Semien only. And then on the flip side, Jeffers really sticks out to me for the Twins. Also like your boy Miranda, and then also like Carlos Correa would be the top 3 Twins. I would only go mini on the Twins. I personally wouldn't be 5 stacking them. But, yeah, it's those 3 Twins, and it's Marcus Semien one-off only for me.
Yeah, so we definitely differed there. I have a lot of interest in these Twins here. I mean, Julian, Larnach, Jeffers, Kepler, Correa, the top 5 all have good numbers, ton of power there. Jose Miranda, a nice value guy there. You got Kirilloff down in the bottom. That's a nice value. Byron Buxton, right, 4,600 there. So I actually like these Twins quite a bit. I just don't think Urena's any good. I'm not going to buy his couple starts that he's kind of limped through this season. Looking at the last 30 days, a 12% strikeout rate to both sides of the plate, which is not good, allowing nearly a 200 ISO against him and some hard hits and some fly balls to come with it. So combine that with the weather here in Minnesota. Give me some of these Twins bats. And then on the other side, I actually don't mind some of these Texas guys as well here against Bailey Ober here. I'm just not a Bailey Ober fan. Corey Seager would be my favorite, followed by Adolis Garcia. They are expensive. I like other spots more. But again, guaranteed 9th inning at bats in a good hitting environment. I don't hate some of those guys, but I don't think I full stack the Rangers, just one-offs in mini stacks personally. Let's jump to the next game here. It's the Giants. It's the New York Mets here. Looking at the pitchers, right? Kyle Harrison on the mound. Christian Scott. We had a ton of interest in Christian Scott. Really didn't talk about Kyle Harrison too much. I have some interest in some of these Mets cheap guys. Talk to me in this one. Not a ton of interest in bats for me personally, but I do have a little bit of interest in the Mets.
Yeah, definitely no Giants for me. Let me take that back. If Estrada, I don't know if their lineup's out, but if Estrada's in the lineup.
Yeah, he's in third.
He's in third. Okay, yeah. So Estrada's fine. Soler batting 6th is fine. I mean, I don't really like him batting down there. It'd be a one-off only for me. Either Estrada or Soler are fine. And then I'm not stacking up these Mets. There's one Met I'm playing, and it's going to be Pete Alonso. I mean, no surprise there. He's batting 2nd. I like him batting there. You know, he's batted 3rd some this season, batted 2nd some this season. But give me some Pete Alonso as a one-off. Love that power. Going up against Kyle Harrison, soft tossing Kyle Harrison, not striking anybody out. Give me Pete Alonso tonight for the Mets as a one-off.
Yeah, no, good breakdown. I like Pete Alonso quite a bit. I also like JD Martinez, Mark Vientos. A nice little 3-mans there, right? You got 2, 3, or 2, 4, 5 in the order there, so I don't hate that. Starlin Marte as well at 4,200, I think is solid. Some of these power hitting righties to attack Kyle Harrison, I don't mind. definitely Pete Alonso. I like him a ton. And then Mark Vientos is a nice value play there. I think he draws a little bit of ownership at third base at 2,900, but you got Rafael Devers right on the slate. That's going to get a lot of ownership in that Boston game, rightfully so. You got Alec Boehm in Coors Field, who's going to get a lot of ownership at that spot. So I don't hate him as a value play there. JD Martinez, Pete Alonso. But I'm not going to full stack any of these Mets. I do like some mini stacks, though, and some one-offs there. Next game on the slate here, we got Baltimore and Chicago. This is probably the game with the worst weather on the slate. Kevin Roth over at RotoGrinders has it tagged as orange-red. Don't want to talk about it too much outside of if this game plays. I have some interest in the Orioles. I'm not going to really break it down because I don't think this game plays. I'll throw it over to you. Any interest in these Royals against Flexen if this game plays? And then I'm assuming no White Sox if this game plays against Corbin Burns, but who knows?
Yeah, the Orioles look good. Gunnar Henderson obviously could play him every night. Really like the lefties for them, but yeah, Gunnar Henderson would lead the way. Just looking at my notes here. Yeah, Gunnar, O'Hearn, Kowser would be my top three Orioles if they play, and then only one White Sox batting cleanup, Paul DeJong. Really like Paul DeJong tonight if he were playing. And man, the majors, the MLB, they got to do a favor, Nades, for the White Sox after what they did to them last night. I don't know if you saw how that game ended last night. Very controversial. Man, what a horrible call in my opinion. And so I don't know if you saw. Did you see how that game ended?
I didn't see how it ended. I saw some stuff on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, about it, but I haven't. I mean, I didn't see it, so I don't want to speak on it too much. But
it was brutal.
Let's not spend too much time on that game. I don't think it plays. Let's go to the other game with weather concern. If I were to pick one, again, I'm not a weather man by any chance, but if I were to pick one that plays, I do think this Cubs and St. Louis game plays. Kevin Roth has it tagged as orange right now, which isn't great. He said scatter storms moving in during game time, not particularly fast moving ones at that. So game probably starts. Could be a delay, lengthy delay, they might call it. That's why I'm off the pitching, because obviously if the game does play, right, does start, and the delay comes in, that SP, right, Imanaga is not going to go back out there. From a bats perspective, realistically, no interest in bats, even if this game does play. I think the Cubs against Mikolas would be a little interesting, Christopher Morel, Bellinger, but realistically, I didn't look at this game too much in terms of bats just because I don't think on an 11-game slate you need to go to a game that isn't great offenses in general with the weather concerns as well. So any interest?
Yep, I'm with you there. 0 bats for me in this game.
All right, awesome. Let's jump into the next game on the slate. When I was quite surprised to see ownership projections right now. Obviously, ownership's always relative. There's tons of ways to get different in MLB, but I do like talking to it in terms of a talking point on this show. The Phillies coming in is probably the third or fourth highest owned stack on the slate, which is just very surprising to me because they're in Coors Field here, highest implied run total on the slate, and they face the worst pitcher arguably on the slate, in my opinion, in Ty Block, and the worst bullpen in the league. I think the last 4 games over the weekend against the Athletics, they gave up a 4-run lead in the 7th inning or past, all 3 straight or something like that, right? The Rockies bullpen is horrendous. Ty Block's horrendous here. Phillies guaranteed 9th inning at bats. Phillies offense hasn't been great to me, but this is a spot where I think I'm getting over the field and going to let other people go to and pivot away with the Dodgers, who obviously are in a good spot, and the Red Sox. I'm going to take my chances here in Coors Field against the worst pitching staff in the major leagues here. So load me up all the Phillies 1 through 9. Love them all here. You got some nice value plays in there if Christian Pash makes the lineup as well. Don't see him in there right now, but we don't have a confirmed lineup. If he's in there, he's got a nice price point, and then all these other guys. Love these Phillies, and then no Rockies interest for me against Sanchez, but I'll throw it over to you, Ham. Let's break this one down.
Yeah, we both like Sanchez a ton. Tovar's leading off. He would be the only one that I like. He profiles pretty good against Sanchez, but you said, I mean, Sanchez like 10% ground ball rate, so yeah, it'd be tough to play him, but minimal interest as a one-off in him. Then Real Muto, Sosa looks good. Saw Sosa was written up in your slate plan. Harper, Bryce Harper is my favorite of the bunch. And then Kyle Schwarber would kind of round out the 4 I have the most interest in. I think ultimately they come in the highest owned stack. I think they surpassed the Dodgers. I definitely think they surpassed the Red Sox. Just my opinion, because you said, I mean, good gosh, Ty Dolla $ign block is not any good. Can't strike anybody out. This Phillies team is what, like 34-16, best 50-game stretch for them ever, maybe. So, Real Muto Sosa really look good. Harper looks great, and Kyle Schwarber would be the 4 how I would start it off.
I like the power righties. Real Muto, Alec Boehm are kind of my priorities, followed by Castellanos, and then Sosa is a nice value plays. Just looking at the last 30 or the current and last season numbers, I mean, Block has struggled a lot to hard hits from the right side and a ton of power. And then you got 2 of the best lefty hitters in baseball, right? And Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, they obviously struggle with strikeouts. Schwarber struggles a little bit more with strikeouts there than Harper does, but both of them are great. Bryson Stott at second base, I love him a ton. And then, like I said, if Christian Pash is in there, I like him a ton as well. So 1 through 9 for me, starting with Real Muto, Alec Boehm are kind of my 2 favorite batters, and then stack around those guys. I don't think their ownership gets up there just because the Dodgers are in a really good spot. The Red Sox are in a really good spot as well. So it's kind of a 3-headed beast that are all going to eat ownership from each other. And if I'm getting a huge park upgrade that I'm getting, right, obviously the Dodgers are in a great ballpark as well, but it's still Coors Field at the end of the day. I'm going to side with the Phillies. So I have Phillies number 1, Dodgers number 2, but they're very close for me. And then, no interest on the Rock side for me. That's the last game that locks at 8:40. Now we're jumping to the 9:38 p.m. Eastern time lock zone. It's Cleveland. It's LA here. I actually like some of these Angels here against Logan Allen. He's not a gas can, but, man, he's just I think some of these Angels, man, they're cheap. Joe Adell, I really like him a ton. And some of these other righties, right? Logan O'Hoppe, those are my 2 favorite bats from these Angels guys. You got Paris down there as a punt second baseman at 2,400, who's got pretty good numbers in his limited sample this year. I don't hate some of these Angels here against Logan Allen and company. And then for me, no Guardians really against Patrick Sandoval. The only guy I would have is just another day ending in Y for our buddy in the chat, Jose Ramirez. You can play him any slate. Outside of that, maybe a Tyler Freeman at 3,500. But my interest in this game definitely resides on the back of the Angels here, which don't say that too often, but they've been hitting the baseball as of late, and won quite a few people a decent amount of money over the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, I have interest in both sides of this game. I've seen people in the chat throw my guys up there, and Warren Tyler just threw it up. Richie Small's talking about the Angels. They're blowing up right now. Give me some Ward, Adell, and Rengifo. Rengifo went yard a couple times in Houston. You said Joe Adell, and you were right on with that. He's been really good. And then Ward, has been solid all season as well. Kevin Pillar, I mean, I don't know what got into Kevin Pillar, turn back the clock for him. Don't mind him to, round out a stack or helping a stack, but certainly don't mind the Angels. Then on the other side, David Fry. I really like David Fry tonight. He jumps off the page. J-Ram's fine. Freeman looks good. And then Brennan and/or Josh Naylor. I don't mind five-man stacking this Guardians team. I know I don't say that often. I know you have some interest in Sandoval. But, yeah, I like these Guardians tonight as well. I think they can get the job done. They're cheap enough to where it allows you to get some good pitching, as well as sprinkle in either the Dodgers or the Phillies as a mini.
Yeah, and that's going to definitely be contrarian because I'm seeing Sandoval getting probably about 20 to 25-ish% ownership in terms of SP just do the matchup, right? So I'm with you there. Looking at the Angels is definitely my preference. Looking at Logan Allen, he's been getting hit and low strikeouts, right? 18% strikeout rate to righties over the last month and a ton of hard hits, north of 54%. Looking at this lineup over the last 30 days against lefties, Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto, Pillar, Adell, Ward, and Rengifo all over 42% hard hit rate against left-handed pitching. So, hey, pick 5 of those 6 there, stack them up. I like those guys quite a bit. Talked about the Angels, the reasons. They're very cheap as well. I don't think ownership goes there as well. Definitely my favorite play. Probably one of my favorite catcher plays on the entire slate. And probably is going to make my core over at the Nation is Logan O'Hoppe. I mean, an 87% hard hit rate against left-handed pitching over the last month. Feels a pretty weak position overall, so I really like him. And then Joe Adell, I really like that mini stack there. Should hit next to each other in the order as well. On the Cleveland side, don't have a ton of interest in the Cleveland side. I'm a little bit different there. I have more interest in Sandoval. Tyler Freeman would be my favorite. David Fry has been playing good baseball right now. but 4,200 at first base. I like other spots more. You can play him at outfield. My two favorite bats by the Guardians would be Freeman and Jose Ramirez. But realistically, my interest in this game is definitely on the Angels side. So we do differ there a little bit. Let's head out to Arizona, another West Coast game here, 9:40 Eastern time. It's Miami Marlins. It's the D-backs. Zach Gallen on the hill. No Marlins for me. Braxton Garrett on the hill. These D-backs are going to pick up a little bit of ownership in terms of the stack. Probably top 5 owned offense on the slate, contesting with Cincinnati right there. Personally, I don't love the D-backs a ton here. I mean, Grichuk, obviously, Gurriel, Ketel Marte. I mean, this lineup is a very good lineup. I just think Braxton Garrett's a solid enough real-life pitcher. I know he's not fully stretched out yet. I have more interest in Braxton Garrett, I think, as a punt SP2 on the slate than I do in the D-backs offense. So for me, realistically, no bats in this game for me. I just don't like the ballpark a ton, and I don't like the matchups a ton, but you can never go wrong with this D-backs squad. Any interest for you here?
Yeah, this game's a pass for me. What, we got 11 games on the slate. This will be my second one I don't have any interest in. And I just saw the news come by that Bryce Wilson's not starting. Jared Koenig is going to be the opener. So, you know me in openers, I don't like dealing with that. Brewers got a good bullpen. I'll probably lower my exposure on the Red Sox tonight because of that. But yeah, no interest in this D-backs game at all from the bats.
Yeah, that is actually big because I mean I believe. So number one, that's big for two reasons. Number one, the Red Sox rolled out a lineup that has 5 lefties that typically, I mean, they have some lefties in there usually, but they do have more righties that typically they would put in there. They were really trying to attack the splits of Bryce Wilson with that lineup. I don't think we're going to see any lineup changes out of the Red Sox due to that, but that does definitely lower my interest more in the Red Sox than I already had. I think they do decrease in terms of industry-wide ownership a little bit as a stack, but they're still going to be up there. It's still Fenway Park against an opener, right, in a bullpen game. I never like picking on that, so that definitely lowers my interest even more in the Red Sox. I do think still Rafael Devers is fine. You can play him any slate. I don't think he's the best play on the slate anymore like I did previously if Bryce Wilson was in there. So good point bringing that up there. Definitely lower now on the Red Sox as in general. Yeah, no other points to make on that game. We got 2 games left to talk about. Let's talk about this next one in Oakland here. Ross Stripling on the hill. These Astros with Verlander, chalk on the other side. Any athletics against Verlander's chalk in 2024? And then for these Astros, don't love them as a stack, but you can never – I mean, Singleton's playing good baseball right now at 3,600. Obviously got Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker to attack the splits of Ross Stripling there. You're paying for it in a bad ballpark. I do think a one-off Tucker or one-off Alvarez is fine. A Singleton as a value guy, but realistically, I don't like stacking teams up in Oakland too often. Just doesn't that ballpark just doesn't beat you a lot, especially when you got Coors Field on the slate. You got Great American Small Park on the slate. You got the Minnesota game with a decent weather there for hitting. Not a game that I'm going to for stacks. One-offs only for me, mainly on the Astros side, and then on the Athletic side, Jay Langeliers. Smashes righty, especially at home this season. Soderstrom, if he's in there, Rooker. Some of these guys do have a decent amount of power against righties, and they have been kind of, if you pick one team all season that's been the beast against chalk pitching, it's definitely been Oakland. Any Oakland bats for you against old man Verlander here?
Yeah, man. I was to start the Astros. I'll go right to the A's. I have a little bit of interest in this athletics bunch. I mean, Blade looks good. You said Langeliers, which I like. I like Zach Gelof. Who else? Soderstrom, I like him. Man, I don't know. McCann wouldn't be in there if Langeliers is in there, but they really look good against Verlander. I mean, Verlander's thrown at 95. Haven't really lost much juice, but yeah, give me these A's as a contrarian stack. Don't mind that. Would be more of a mini than a full 5-man. And then on the flip side, it's the righties for me against Ross Stripling. It's Altuve. Really like Altuve tonight. He's 5'7" on DK, I believe. And then it'd be Jake Myers and Yarnar Diaz. I mean, certainly you could play the lefty mashers, right? 2 of the best lefty hitters in the game. But I personally would start with Altuve for me, then it'd be Myers and Diaz after that for the Astros.
Yeah, no, excellent breakdown. I want to talk about this Oakland squad a little bit more just because looking at the numbers over the last 30 days for Verlander, 120 plate appearances, sub 20% strikeout rate, a fly ball rate north of 35%, very, very low ground ball rate, just a 22% ground ball rate. That's one of the league worst, especially on the slate, and gets hit hard a little bit from lefties. But looking at the numbers over the last 30 days, Rooker's got a 318 ISO. Langeliers has got a 400 ISO. There's a lot of green. Seth Brown has a ton of power there. Strikeouts do come with it. So I'm going to reapproach my interest in Verlander and think this might be a spot here where I'm going to be underweight on Verlander, especially at the projected ownership. I just updated ownership projections, and he's approaching 30+% now, by far the highest owned pitcher on the slate here. So I actually have a little bit more interest in these Athletics now, looking at it, just a double leverage situation and looking at the numbers of Verlander over the last month. Give me some of these righties. Rooker, Langeliers, talk about them, and then some of these value lefties, Blade, Soderstrom, Seth Brown. Not going to 5-man stack Oakland just because I hate the ballpark, but I definitely could get away with a 2-man or a 3-man stack here as a double leverage situation. So do have a little bit more interest in these Oakland side than I originally thought I did. And then the Astros already broke those guys down for y'all. Last game of the slate here, we head out to San Diego, the lone late night games, 9:40 Eastern time as well, locking with the Houston game and the Miami game. Talk to me, Yankees and the Padres, 2 decent real-life pitchers. Rodon's been good. Yu Darvish actually increased to be approaching 30% ownership now, because now it seems like with the weather, people are seeing what I've seen. The more they're building lineups, they need some salary to fit in those big bats. And Yu Darvish at 8K has looked really good. I still have interest in him. No bats for me in this one, despite the high-powered offenses here. I just like the other ballparks more, and if this game beats me, it beats me.
Yeah, we just got an update too. It looks like that Cincinnati, the Chicago risk got a little bit lowered and St. Louis raised up a little bit. So, I mean, hey, we could be throwing a curveball here in about an hour and a half before lock with those games, either playing or not playing. But yeah, for me, it's tough to play. It's tough to play these Yankees. I mean, I know they've been absolutely smashing right-handed pitching all season. I think they lead the league in homers versus right-handed pitching. But Yu Darvish is no gas can by any stretch, and their power comes from righties, which he kind of limits the power, limits the barrels to righties. So no Yankees for me. And then I do have interest in these Padres bats and runners. Rodon, not very good, even though he's a lefty, not very good at keeping runners on base. I like Hai-Song Kim. I don't like it that he's batting down there where he is in the lineup, but give me some Machado. Give me some Tease. Arise has like 8 straight multi-hit games or something crazy like that. I think these Padres, hey, they may be the late night hammer, the late night Dodgers of the Friday night for us over there in California. So give me these Padres as a late night hammer, definitely against Rodon.
Yeah. Don't hate it, but not a spot that I'm getting to there. So I do want to go back and hit on that Baltimore game because Corbin Burns, I think, becomes my favorite SP on the entire slate now. Looking at Ross' update, he does think they fit this whole game in before the Storms. Even if the Storms approach late in that game, Corbin Burns likely already got enough, hopefully, against this pretty weak offense overall. So definitely have a lot more interest in Corbin Burns now facing this White Sox team here. So I did want to mention that. Hitting on the bats, definitely have a lot more interest in the Orioles. I do think the Orioles offense picks up a decent amount of steam too. Just Chris Flexen isn't any good. People stack against him, and now you get the team that leads the major leagues in home runs in Baltimore. Heading into town with guaranteed 9th inning at bats. Gunnar Henderson becomes one of the best shortstop plays, one of the best overall hitters on the slate for me. Ryan O'Hearn, Colton Cowser, Westberg, I really like those guys. Stack them up. This team just doesn't strike out a ton, hits for a ton of power. So, yeah, definitely bump the Orioles up there and bump Corbin Burns up quite a bit in terms of SP. And I actually put him ahead of Zach Gallen for the $300 more on the slate. Throw it over to you, Hamwich. Any thoughts on that game there in terms of Baltimore and the White Sox before you give your home run call of the evening?
Yeah, I mean, it's Chris Flexen, former KBO great Chris Flexen. Hey, these Orioles, I mean, I said it earlier, Gunnar Henderson, Cowser, O'Hearn, really nice. And if this game gets in, like you said, even if it goes 7 or 8, we think we could get, 21, 24 outs out of those Orioles. They can smash with the best of them. I definitely like them. Then, like I said earlier, DeJong as a one-off for me. I mean, that would be like a, 20 20 team if I'm doing that many teams. Yeah, DeJean, but Corbin Burns, really great strikeout stuff. What was it last game, Nate? It's like 12 strikeouts or something. Then he had 11, 12, something like that.
He looked more like the Corbin Burns-esque of the Brewers Corbin Burns last start than he did the previous start. So, and now he faces one of the worst offenses in baseball in the White Sox. So definitely have a ton of interest in him. And I think it's enough to keep his ownership in check just due to there is still weather concern there. So obviously the models and stuff can change at any blink. Definitely watch Kevin Ross updates. Again, we're not meteorologists over here. I follow guys that study that stuff more in the industry, whether you like him or not. That's who I pay attention to. That's who we definitely direct people to check out over there. So do like Corbin Burns quite a bit. That much Friday night home run call of the evening. Where are you going, my man?
Yeah, this one's almost too easy. It's so nice. I'm going to give you two of them. And I think he bombs twice. I'm going to go a little Tamboism, a little Peter Alonso. Going to go home run tonight, potentially double dong. That's my first one. Second one's going to be Stewart Fairchild. Hey, they're going to both hit a bomb tonight. Make sure you get over to your local FanDuel or DraftKings betting app and make sure you put that in there. It's going to give you a nice little payday, 25-1. So, yeah, Alonso and Stewart Fairchild will both go bomb tonight.
Well, all right. Excellent calls there. I'm going to the Angels, and I'm going to a nice little dual stack. Hopefully, if they go back-to-back, if they're hitting next to each other in the lineup. I'm going Joe Adell at 3,700 outfielder there. And then, like I said, my favorite catcher play on the entire slate, Logan O'Hoppe, 3,900. I think both of those guys hit a home run. That's where I'm going tonight. Nice little value stack there. Pair them with the Phillies, pair them with the Dodgers, pair them with the Orioles, whatever you want to do there. That's my calls tonight. How much? Any closing remarks for the people before we get on out of here and go enjoy our Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, no, enjoy that weekend. Let's have some winners tonight. This weekend, Nades and I back in the booth on Monday for the people. We won't let you down. We'll be here working while everybody else is enjoying burgers, throwing some beers back. Monday, mid-afternoon. Looking forward to it. Good luck tonight, Nades. Good luck, everybody, in this contest. Hope to see a shipper at the top.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone tuning in. If you guys are watching this on playback, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton there. And in the comment section, drop your favorite plays, your favorite stacks of the evening there. Everybody have an amazing weekend. Stay safe out there. Enjoy some family time. Tip some adult beverages back there. More importantly, stay safe. Hamwich and I will be back here on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, I believe, right? 2 p.m. Yep. 2 p.m. Eastern. That slate locks at 4 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So about 2 hours before lock or so, we're going to jump on here and break down that slate there. So catch us back here. But before then, have an amazing weekend. Everybody stay safe. Good luck tonight. Hope to see those Ship It Nation logos at the top. For Hamwich, I'm Nadesify. Let's ship it.